welcome back to Mariana Mass Books. My name is Mariana and today I am here with a Friday Reads video. I have been mulling over what video I wanted to film. I want to do the to read or not to reread tag. I want to do another history stuff episode video to talk about stuff that I told you in my previous history stuff video. I've been wanting to do reading recent reads video where I talk about everything that I've read in the year. I had many ideas and I ended up not filming any of them. I didn't film anything last week, so today I thought, okay, just film a Friday Reads video, a regular Friday Reads video, because I did want to film a Friday Reads that wasn't specifically history related before I did the next history stuff episode in my channel. So I'm just going to talk about the books that I have been reading, and yeah, you know how Friday Reads go. So my main reading thing for this month is People April. Last year and the year before, I think this is the third year maybe, I wanted to participate more. Maybe this is the second year. Anyway, so in past years or year, I wanted to participate more, but I didn't end up reading a ton. And this year I did want to read more. So the first book that I want to talk about is The Tigress of Forli, which is about the life of Catherine Sforza, who was a woman living at the end of the 15th century in Italy, from a prominent family, big political intrigue type of biography. She is like a real life Cersei from Game of Thrones. If you have watched Game of Thrones, she is like a real life Cersei, but even cooler because she actually was the commander of armies, so she was in the face of battle and in sieges, so she did lead armies against enemy armies. And actually that made me wonder if in the books, if anyone has read Game of Thrones, in the books does Cersei actually command armies, because in the show she doesn't. And as I was reading this book, I was thinking, I have a lot of gripes with male fantasy authors, but one thing is the women. Obviously, I feel like every woman reader has gripes with that, but I was thinking I kind of found a new respect for Cersei as a character, because she is such a strong female character, but not in the traditional sense. But I was thinking, why doesn't she command armies? Because you do have examples of women like Catherine Sforza, who even her armor, her breastplate, still exists to this day, and you don't have that in fantasy books. So that's like a question that I'm asking, because there are many famous fantasy books that I haven't read. So if anyone has read them, let me know, because I don't know, I just thought it was an interesting thing. So one thing I really enjoyed about the book, and for that I need to tell you why I chose that book. So when the People April announcement was released, they had several books as options for the group read of the readathon, and we had to vote for which one would be the group read. So I voted for The Tigress of Forli, which didn't win, but I wanted to read it anyway. But the reason why I was attracted to that was yes, the time period, but specifically because my favorite tarot deck is called the Visconti Sforza Tarot, and it was commissioned by the Visconti Sforza family in Italy. There are a lot of theories, because sadly it's not a topic that a lot of historians study, and I think they should, because there is a lot of heraldry and cultural and societal stuff involved. But some historians, some art historians, believe that it was commissioned for a wedding. There are 3 Visconti tarots that we have to this day there are extant cards for those tarot decks. Sadly, because it's not considered a serious history topic, there are a lot of made up stuff because there aren't a lot of serious historical studies for tarot. And so a lot of people think that the origins are like, mystical in Egypt or like made up stuff like that. But the origins were actually in the medieval period, and specifically in Italy. That's where tarot was born. As such, obviously, it comes from different traditions of card making, but as such, as far as we know, or as far as historians know, it was born in Italy in the medieval period. So, forward to the Visconti tarots, there are 3 available, and a lot of art historians believe that they were commissioned for weddings of the Visconti Sforza family. Hold on, I forgot to get. So this is my facsimile of the Visconti Sforza tarot, which is one of the Visconti tarot extant tarot decks that we have. And I wanted to show you because since this is a facsimile and I almost fell down. Since this is a facsimile and it is focused on the historical aspect, it comes with 2 portraits. This is Bianca Maria Visconti. Yes, Bianca Maria Visconti, and this is Francesco Sforza. And one of the theories is that one of the Visconti decks was commissioned for the wedding of these 2 people, and these are actually the grandparents of Catherine Sforza, who is the Tigress of Forli from the book that I read. So that's how everything comes together. So these are her grandparents, and I thought that was super cool when I saw that there was a biography for her, and it was super cool to see the all the places that are mentioned, Piacenza, Bologna, and all those Italian places. It was fun to hear about them or hear them mentioned because I do own several facsimiles of historical tarot decks, historical Italian tarot decks that come from those regions. So, should I get them? Yes, I should. It's a Friday Reads, right? Kind of like... Oh no, I'm messing up my setup. This is why one shouldn't do this, these informal things. Okay, so for instance, I have the Piacentini, which comes from Piacenza, and these come from much later, right? So the Visconti is from before the time of Catherine Sforza, or that's what art historians believe, right? Because of the heraldry that is present, and because of the art style and the studies that they have done with the extant cards. But this one is from oh god, I can't see, 1875. And then I have this one. I meant to show you the cards, but I'm not going to do it. But this one is from Ferrara or Milan, and this one is also from the 19th century. So I don't know, it was just really cool to hear all of those places, and it was a reminder that I am missing a Bolognese tarot from Bologna. So, I need to get on that so that I have my collection of Italian tarot decks. So that is the Tigress of Forli, and I didn't even talk about the book. But I'm not going to do that. I already finished it, but I'm not going to talk in detail about the book because I want to do a wrap up for people I read, because I have read a lot of stuff. So yeah, I'll save it for then. So that is a book that I recently finished, and because I finished that one and it talks about Italy in the Renaissance and or the early, Renaissance, at the end of the 15th century, and it talks about the Medicis, and Catherine Sforza, she had contact with Leonardo and other famous painters. It made me want to read more about the art of the period. One thing that I wish the book focused more on, I understand why it didn't, but I would have liked, was focusing more on the art scene at the moment. It's more focused on the politics than the art, right? So because of that, I thought I wanted to read the lives of the artists by Vassari, Giorgio Vassari. This, I have mentioned this in multiple TBRs, and after finishing the Tigress of Forli, I felt like reading the lives of the artists, and I am loving this. So this was published in the 16th century. I don't have the year here. Giorgio Vassari was part of the Renaissance, and he writes this, and this is a collection of biographies for different artists from the 13th century all the way to the 16th century. So sculptors, painters, architects, different artists, and it's about their lives, it's about their work. One thing I wasn't expecting is laughing out loud. It's super, super funny because Giorgio Vasari doesn't hold back. He is savage and he will throw shade where he wants to throw shade. And I don't know, just in general, I feel like non-fiction from these types of time periods is very funny, and you could put in air quotes, right? Non-fiction. Like there is a lot of stuff that is made up or that he gets wrong, that now historians know that it's not the case, and so in general it's funny, but also he throws shade and doesn't hold back, and so it's even more funny. And also he talks super bad about the medieval period, which is making me cackle because, as you know, I'm a lover and defender of the Middle Ages, and I honestly have very little patience for people, current day people, who still think that the Middle Ages were the Dark Ages, or that nothing happened, or that everything was dirty and ugly. And thank you, fancy authors, for giving people the wrong impression of what the medieval period was actually like. But coming from Giorgio Vasari, who was from the Renaissance, and who I didn't know that he is one of the inventors of this concept of the Renaissance. So of course he's very much doing marketing for the Renaissance and against the medieval period. And so reading it from him, who is from that time, it makes me laugh because it's like like typical artist male ego. I read something. I was looking for recommendations for Renaissance nonfiction, and of course this was one of the main ones. But one of the things that the author from that article mentioned is that Vasari knew that he was part of the Renaissance. He knew that he was part of this great age. And that in itself is like a red flag, right? That in itself is sauce. Because whenever you see about the medieval period, it's always said they didn't know they were in the medieval period, right? And that's a name that historians have given the period in retrospect. Or if you read about Mesoamerica, they didn't know they were Mesoamericans. That has been created in retrospect by historians. Whereas the Renaissance, they knew they were the Renaissance, and they themselves promoted that term. It is like a big marketing campaign. As soon as you hear that, oh, they knew, they actually came up with the term, you know that it's BS, right? And I'm not saying that there weren't amazing artists and amazing innovations in art. Of course, there were. But I'm just saying that the concept of a renaissance is very much a marketing campaign. And, I'm taking a medieval philosophy online course that I found. And in the first class, the teacher said, so like people think that the classics went to bed one night and then they woke up and it was the modern times. And it's the same with art. These artists from the Renaissance, they didn't poof appear from thin air, right? Like they come from a whole inheritance, from a whole history of art that has evolved through time until you reach that period. So if that hadn't happened, if that evolution hadn't happened, you can't arrive to that. It's not like suddenly, poof, they woke up and they are such masters of art anyway. So that is why it's very funny. And I haven't, like, I'm barely like that there, so I haven't read a lot. But I just wanted to share with you a couple of quotes because it's just like I need you to understand the level of savagery and the level of shade. So this is the beginning of Giotto's life, and in the beginning paragraph, he's talking about how much artists owe to Giotto for his innovations. So he's talking about that, about how much they owe him, and it's explaining why. So it's like they owe a lot to Giotto, for when the methods and outlines of good painting had been buried for so many years by the ruins of war, he alone, although born among inept artists, revived through God's grace what had fallen into an evil state, and brought it back to such a form that it could be called good. And it was truly an extraordinary miracle that such an ignorant and incompetent age could have inspired Giotto to work so skillfully that drawing, of which men during those times had little to no knowledge, came fully back to life through his efforts. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on, and also, I find it hard to read on camera. So, like, literally calling the inept, incompetent time. But then, just one more quote, and that's it. The life of Paolo Uccello. He was a Florentine painter, and it's just hilarious because it's not just about the medieval period, just in general, he will throw shade wherever he sees fit. So he's talking about how Paolo Uccello has devoted his life to the study of perspective, and that has hindered his painting, in Vassari's opinion, because instead of focusing on human forms, he is focusing on the study of perspective. And he laments a lot that Paolo Uccello could have been great if only he had devoted himself to the study of human figure. So it says, beside this, such a person frequently becomes solitary, eccentric, melancholy, and impoverished, like Paolo Uccello, who, endowed by nature with a meticulous and subtle mind, took pleasure only in the investigation of certain problems of perspective, which were difficult or impossible, and which, however original and vexing, nevertheless hindered him so much in painting figures that as he grew older, he grew even worse. And then he continues, there is no doubt that anyone who does violence to his nature with fanatical study may well sharpen one corner of his mind, but nothing that he creates will ever appear to have been done with the natural ease and grace of those who place each brushstroke in its proper place, and, with moderation, considerable intelligence, and good judgment, avoid certain subtleties which soon encounter their judgment, which soon encumber their works with an overworked, difficult, arid, and ill-conceived style, which more readily moves to those who observe them, to compassion than to wonder. Like, honestly, what? It's so funny. I'm having a blast reading that book. So that is the lives of the artists. And then, because I was in the mood for, biography, I impromptu, spur of the moment, started William Morris's biography by Fiona MacCarthy, William Morris Alive for Our Time, which I had been eyeing since a long while ago, but I hadn't actually started it. Um, and, you know, things have been so awful with the world and with everything, and everything is so depressing, between politics and AI and I don't know, a lot of stuff that I just needed a balm for my soul. And William Morris's life, if that's not a balm for these times, I don't know what is. I am absolutely loving it. It is over 900 pages, so I'm only at 20% of the book. I'm reading it on Kindle. But I'm just adoring it. I'm not going to share quotes or anything from that book because I don't want to make this even longer. And as I said, I'm barely at 20%, but it's taking over my life. I'm thinking about William Morris all the time. I feel myself going into a biography precipice. I feel biography taking over my life, and I'm not mad about it. There are other biographies that I want to read. I was looking at her bibliography because I'm really enjoying the book, her writing style, and she also has a biography of Walter Gropius, who I hadn't thought about since university. And I was like, oh, I'm going to read her biography of Walter Gropius. And also, she has a biography of Eric Gill, who, if you don't know, was a typeface designer. If you have used Gill Sans, that font, he's the designer. So I need to see some reviews to see how she handles that, because I feel like in the William Morris biography, she romanticizes his life a lot, which is not a hard thing to do, admittedly. I mean, he himself romanticized his life. But I don't want her to romanticize Eric Gill's life. So, anyway, I was excited about that because, I mean, William Morris is someone who I knew or I discovered, I found out about, I learned about in university. I studied graphic design, and so I learned about William Morris, the arts and crafts movement, and of course Walter Gropius with the Bauhaus. And so I don't know, like, I saw her bibliography and thought, she has so many biographies that speak to my university years, and it would be fun to go back. Like, I'm doing it now with William Morris, and it's just taking me back to my university years. And also, he was obsessed with the medieval period, with Arthurian legend. So it's very much a kindred spirit. I feel like he's very much a kindred spirit. So I am super enjoying that biography, and it's, as I said, it's taking over my life. I love it so much. And finally, in audiobook, I am listening to Peter Jackson's, no, not Peter Jackson, Anything You Can Imagine, Peter Jackson and the Making of Middle Earth, I think. And that's again something I've been wanting to read since a long time. I hadn't read it, and it wasn't available on audiobook in the platform that I used when I checked when it came out. But I thought about it for People April. I thought it would be a cool choice for People April, which very much fits with People April, and I will talk about it when I do my wrap up. So I thought about it, and I had finished the Tigress of Forli, so I was looking for an audiobook, and I looked for it, and it was available. So I'm reading that one, and it's also taking over my life. It's just I get so excited, I cry, I get chills. Like, literally, you can see goosebumps on my arm when I hear the stories about how, the discovery of the different places in New Zealand, and how fate came together to create these movies. And as someone who has watched the movies a million times, and the Lord of the Rings movies a million times, and has watched all of the extended extra material a million times, and I had already read another book that I'm not going to get because I already got too many things about the topic, called Frodo's franchise. Um, so I already knew a lot of things about the creation of these movies. I'm one of those annoying friends that if you watch the movie with me, I will be telling you random facts about the movie and the making of the movie and the filming and the actors. I knew a lot. And even for me, for someone who already knew a lot, there are still many things I didn't know. So that is has been a wonderful surprise. Also, I love the focus because the focus is on the people that made the movie rather than the movies themselves. So you hear about the life and the trajectory of their careers of Peter Jackson, of Philippa Boyen, of Frank Walsh, and the main Richard Taylor, the main um, direction guys, people, but also about the actors, and yes, the main cast, but also stunt actors, the orcs. There's even, if you've seen the movies and if you've seen the extended editions, in the extended edition of the Fellowship of the Ring, there is a hobbit in the prologue of Concerning Hobbits. There is a hobbit who his wife is going to kiss him, but he takes a bite of a cupcake, something like that. And that guy is interviewed. So it's really cool to see all of the anecdotes from the different people. And even if a lot of them I already knew them, it's still super exciting. And something very funny is that even though I know the films get made, right? I know that they get made. I know that they were huge successes. I know that everything worked out well. I still get tense and anxious reading the stories about, the negotiations in the studio, or, casting the Aragorn that wasn't the final Aragorn, or casting someone else for a different role, or an actor rejecting a role, and I know that eventually they make it into the movie, but I'm still super anxious. I'm just getting super excited again with The Lord of the Rings, which is not a difficult thing to do. A few years ago, I reread the books with Elle from Elle Thinks. It was her first time reading and my second time reading, and she can tell you all about it. I will randomly go on facts about Tolkien's life and about everything. So I am in that mood again, and it made me want to reread the book, which I had been thinking that I should reread The Lord of the Rings again because I've been reading so much medieval literature that I feel like I want to reread it from that lens because I know that Tolkien was a fan of the medieval period and of the 19th century medieval revival and, the Arthurian tales. And now that I have read Arthurian stuff and, chivalric romances and all the stuff that inspired Tolkien, I feel like I would like to read the book from that perspective. So I actually ordered a new copy because I want to read it in a single volume as was intended, and it's not here yet. Otherwise, I would show it to you guys. But so I had been wanting to reread the book, but listening to the this audiobook has just made me want to go back into that world, and it's honestly really made me realize that there is very little in the world that I love as much as I love Middle Earth. And it's like, okay, so half hyperbole and half not hyperbole. There is actually, I'm going to read you one quote from the William Morris biography. And it's just a super short sentence that says, "Books to Morris had a magic. They were realer than the real." And it's just a perfect way to describe what I feel about books. I often talk about how when I close a book, I don't really close a book. I never close it because it's always in my mind and I'm always thinking about it. I'm thinking about the characters, I'm wondering what they're up to. I randomly will in my life just start thinking about a fictional character, and they just really truly live within me. And I feel like it's one of those things where intellectually your brain knows that it's fiction, but in your heart it's real. And that has always been the case for me with books. I The reason why you can escape to books, which I do, my reading is very escapist. The reason why you can do it is precisely because they are real. Because when you are reading, what you are reading is realer than the real. Or that's my experience. So I adore that quote, and I actually want to write it on my bookshelf. Just realer than the real. Um, so yeah, why did I mention that? Oh, because Middle Earth, right? Middle Earth is realer than the real. So I'm just super excited about that, and I'm going to leave it at that because I've been talking for a while, and so those are the books that I am reading. Everything that I'm reading is for People April, so I am going to do a wrap up. The Peter Jackson book, I'm most likely going to finish it. I only have 5 hours to go, and I'm filming this on Tuesday. You're seeing it on Friday, but I'm filming it on Tuesday. So for sure I'm going to finish that one. After that, I wanted to start the Matilda biography that Justin at Triumphal Reads, he's been recommending a ton, and that's also available in other books. So when I finish the Peter Jackson, I'm going to start the Matilda biography, but I don't know if I'm going to have time to start it in April. So when I do a wrap up, I'll talk about it. I will talk about, I'm not going to finish William Morris's biography. As I said, it's over 900 pages. I'm not going to finish the lives of the artists. It's over 600 pages. But I will talk about them and I will include them in my wrap up as books I started and am reading. And yes, so that's everything I'm reading, I think. Oh, wait, I mean, I'm also reading the Seven Waters series by Juliet Marillier, which I'm body reading with Elle. We are always body reading stuff, so that's like always in the back. So whenever I don't talk about that, you know that I'm reading something with Elle regardless. So that would be it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Um, I would love to hear you in the comments. And yeah, I will see you soon with another bookish video. And in the meantime, I wish you happy reading.